Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having a great weekend. I have this super fun, the Rabbit Hole Designs gorgeous stamp, and I could not wait to ink it up, so let's go ahead and get started with our card. I'm going to start with a background. This is just some Hunter cardstock that I had in my stash, and I have this Harlequin stencil from Tim Holtz, and yes, it's well loved. That is paint all over it. I don't always clean off my dies or my stencils when I'm done using them, but yes. So I took some pine needles, distress ink, and just kind of sponge that through with a mini ink blending tool, and I'm going to put that into my makeshift splatter box. I have some Brutus Monroe Aqua Pigment in the color Penny. I love their metallic line. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that on a stamp block and take a stiff bristled brush, and then I'm going to splatter that all over my background. This stuff just looks so pretty on dark cardstock, so I couldn't help it. I had to have a lot of it all over my background. And then when I'm done, I'm going to set that off to the side to dry while I work on stamping out my image. So this is what it looks like up close. There is a ton of beautiful splatter all over that. It is just gorgeous. All right, so back to our stamp. I have some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock that I'm going to put inside of my Mini Misty, and this is that really cute stamp I was telling you about. It's called Gorgeous, and I just had to ink it up. So I'm going to ink this up with some Memento Tuxedo black ink because I plan to do some Copic coloring. And you can do this on craft cardstock like the Neenah Desert Storm. It works fine. Your colors will look a little different, obviously, because it's a darker cardstock. So I suggest testing out whatever colors you might want to use. And I'm going to ink up my stamp a couple times. I love the detail on this image, so you can definitely tell where your shadows are coming from. It's just such a cute image. And so I've picked out a few colors, and and I've said this before with my oranges, I typically find these color combinations that you might not think would go together. So I've grabbed the YR65, and that's going to be my base. I had someone mention the other day that because they see so many people starting off coloring with their darkest and then going to lightest, that they've done that and it's hard to do. So definitely if you are new, or even if you're not new and you find that you're struggling with your Copic coloring, I suggest that you start with lightest to darkest. That's what I still do, and I've been coloring with Copic markers or alcohol markers for about 17 years. Well, no, not that long. Quite a while though, but for however long I've been doing it, I have always gone lightest to darkest. Darkest to lightest just does not work for me. And then I'll even go back over it. So once I've gone lightest to darkest, then I'll go right back down to my lightest again. And so there are the colors once again on the screen that I used to color my pumpkin. Not that you would think would go together, but they end up working out pretty nicely. For my darker colors, well, we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to use some Y15 and then Y35 for the inside of my jack-o'-lantern. And then my darker colors for the witch's hat are going to be from the W's. So I'm using W5, W7, and W9. And I'm putting them up on the screen like that because I actually have the Chow markers for most of those. So I once again start with my lightest, which was the W5, and don't be afraid to go dark. I don't typically use black ever, really, but don't be afraid to get kind of dark in there and then try and shade that out. You might be surprised at the drama that it creates and how pretty that can look. So now I'm moving in with my W7, and then I'm going to grab my W9 and bring that out, and even just using a little bit on the hat as well. And then I'll go backwards again. This is the W7, and then made the mistake and grabbed the W9 when I meant to grab the W5, but I fix it. It's fine. You really can't tell. And then shade that out a little bit more, just even leaving some of that lighter on top. And then I'll use the yellow on the band. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to grab the matching die, and I'm going to tape that down with just some low tack washi tape. Purple tape or something like that would work as well. And then I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. And there it is. I really do like having the die for this one. Now I'm going to trim down my sentiment. I'm not exactly sure at this point how I want to put it on my card, so that's why I'm keeping that long tail. But I do know that I want to have a fishtail banner on the front part there. So what I do is I snip into the center and then let those ends meet, and there you have a fishtail. I'll bring back in my background, and it wasn't completely dry, so in order to make sure that it's dry, I don't want those splatters smearing too much. I'm going to heat set that. I'll even turn it over and get the back. And then when we're ready to go, I'm going to move on to my card base, which is just some lunch bag cardstock from Brutus Monroe. That's a craft cardstock, but it's a heavyweight. And I did trim down my panel. And then at this point I decide I want to put some foam tape on the back of both my image and my sentiment. So I'm just going to grab some Scotch foam tape and I'll trim it up to fit my sentiment and my little gourd. And I've said this before, I know a lot of you are really enjoying this Halloween series of cards that I have. But I like the cute. I don't really like the scary. So, or even the gory for that matter. I mean, that's right along the same lines, right? So if it's cute and it's Halloween, I will ink that up. And I think this is number 7 in my series. I've done a bunch of Halloween cards already, and we're not even to October yet. So just if you like the Halloween series, just keep coming back. You know, I'm definitely going to have a lot more. Alright, and then I've peeled off all the backing paper, and I'm going to stick down my gourd, and then I'll flip that over and I'll trim off the excess from my sentiment. And then I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere down my panel onto my card base. And I'm going to go ahead and put this all the way to the left-hand side, and that will leave just a little bit of a border on the right-hand side so that you'll see that craft cardstock's poking through. And it kind of makes everything cohesive. I'm going to grab the gourd stamp one more time, and then I'm going to ink that up with some Pine Needle Distress Oxide ink. I decided to use that because it is definitely much better for stamping than just regular distress inks are. And when I'm done stamping that, that is going to finish off our card. So if you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And thank you always, guys, for all your love and support. And everything that I used, I will have linked down below. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.